So we picked an easy topic for our panelists to boil down into about a 4 or 5 minute presentation. Quote, the greatest successes and failures of the last 50 years of paddle sports. So that'll be an easy, and again, 4 to 5 minutes, all right? But the idea is to open this PTC collab event with a look back at how we got here and as an industry, and basically get us thinking about where to go in the next 50 years. So what have we done? What have we not done that contributed? What should we keep doing? What have we stopped doing? What should we go back to doing? And what should we never do again? So that's just the kind of the basic framing. And we have here on stage with me Nikki Rekman. Oh, Nikki Rekman, Stig Larsson, Steve Jordan, and John Kahn. And as Jeff mentioned, Al unfortunately was not able to join us. So without further ado, I'm going to pass to Nikki. And Nikki is a veteran sales rep, as many of you know, out of Western Canada, and she is going to discuss the importance of community building at retail. So, Nikki, why don't you take it away?
They didn't tell me I was going first.
You're going to do great, Nick.
And like Stig, I have a few things written down, so forgive me. In my experience as a sales rep, the community building piece has been the part that I've enjoyed being a part of and seeing the most. I've been doing this repping for over 15 years, in the industry for about 30, and it's something that I've seen done very well. It's something that I've seen no signs of, depending on where I was looking. I think everybody wants to be a part of something, and why not have it be a part of paddle sports, be a part of your local paddling community. We heard earlier from Mr. Knob about how he's building community here in Oklahoma City. I'm not sure we're doing that as well as I've seen in the past. In the beginning, when we all started, we had to build community because we were creating our customers. We were creating them on the river. They came to us, we met them on the river, we talked to them about the products we were selling, and that's how the industry started. It was very grassroots. But over the last 30 years, we've grown significantly, and dare I say, we've become a little corporate in some corners. And we've forgotten our humble beginnings, which I think is worth remembering. We need to create our community so we create our customers again. And I've had the privilege of repping in Western Canada and seeing this in action. I am going to name drop. One of those names is here, so he can give me shit later. But I've seen this done well in places like Coast Outdoors, owned by Bob Putnam and Arian Baxter in North Vancouver. Simon Coward in Calgary, Alberta, Edmonton, Alberta. Simon's one of your board members. They're building community in very, I want to say unique ways, but it's not unique. They're just getting back to basics. They're giving people a place to come and a group to be a part of. Like I said, we all want to be a part of something. Why not be a part of the local paddle sports community? And we've also talked this morning about how we're not going to have the answers. But I think there's some good ideas that come from some of these shops that are doing well at building community. They've got youth development programs. They've got instructional schools. When I started repping over like 20 years ago, the amount of instructional schools tied to retailers in our business was significant. In Canada, Simon is the only retailer with a whitewater instructional component. Deep Cove Outdoors, or Coast Outdoors, I'm sorry, you know, they have a Tuesday night race series. Their Tuesday night race series is 26 years old this year. Those commitments to community building, they cost money, all kinds of resources, people resources, certification resources. I believe that's why we're not doing it anymore, because the investment is huge. The drivers are tired. No staff to hand the programs to. The insurance on vehicles, liability insurance. And then COVID came and shut it all down. It gave us an excuse to stop. And honestly, we've gotten a little bit lazy to start it back up. Reasons don't really matter. What matters is that we see less and less of it. I'm going to close by saying, with challenges come opportunity, and our industry has a lot of opportunity.
Thank you, Nikki. Gave us a lot to think about, and it's hard to think of anything that's more important in our sport than community. Next up, we're going to have Stig Larsson from Level 6. Stig is a former slalom racer with Team Canada, so if anybody is looking to get humbled out on the course later, I think Stig is your man. Just follow him. 27 years at Level 6, so that's quite iconic. And Stig is going to talk about the importance of maintaining dealer margins.
It's going to be a tough act to follow with that, Nikki, but when I was challenged with this question of the biggest failures, I wanted to look back on what opportunities we could have maybe decided differently, not just this year or pre-COVID or during COVID, but what if we had to go back 20 or 30 or 40 years? And my thought with the biggest failure in Paddlesports was not able to provide healthy long-term margins for dealers to allow them to make the long-term business decisions, investments in the category. It would have played a long way with what Nikki just mentioned as well. This would help create sustainable growth and participation in the industry and allow them to overcome the inevitable economic challenge that we have historically faced and are currently facing. I know it's easy to say, well, I want more margin, but that's not how it necessarily works. We've had some kind of high-level meetings with some dealers, multinational dealers, key dealers like Simon. We talk about what people are still looking to purchase something if it has a perceived value. And that value doesn't necessarily come from price. That value comes from innovation and inspiration in the products. So it's up to us as the brands to invest and create those innovative and inspiring products and allow our dealers to maximize their margins on those products in order to become more profitable. Allowing dealers to stay profitable during inevitable cycles with the economy when sales or inventory discounting were needed. It does happen. For sure, we're going to overproduce at some point. Again, no one has a crystal ball on what's going to happen again in 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years. But if there's a healthy base margin that dealers can work with, they can come out in years like we've had the past 2 years, still being profitable, still investing in community initiatives, still investing in what Simon's doing, teaching kids and teaching new people to get into the sport, which benefits all of us. It benefits, of course, the brands, allows us to innovate and aspire, building more product. It allows the sales reps to grow, get back onto the demo days circuit where they used to get more people inspired into the sport. Of course, it helps the retailer who struggles with increasing costs on all sides. increased salaries, increased rent, increased heat and hydro, increased insurance policies. All of this stuff is being whittled away from a standard margin that was really set 20 years ago. It was a different world now, and we need to think a bit more creatively on that. Whether that margin comes in from solving our shipping issue with large volume boats. How can we come together as an industry and negotiate on a preferred shipping carrier? Being able to save $200 or $300 per boat to get to the end retailer. That money is direct margin, which is more profitable for the dealer, which then goes into creating more initiatives to grow the base. You grow the base, you have more money going to the brands, and they can create more inspiring and innovative products. And the weird thing about MSRPs, you see it all the time. We sell level 6 sells over 420 stores around the world, and every country, every state, every city has a different cost of doing business. But with map policy now and the way the internet works, you can see those prices across the board. So dealers they have to abide by those margins. Even though doing business in Slovenia by side of the river with your family-owned business, you don't need to make the same margin as you do being downtown New York. And that losing that urban presence also, we lose that ability to project what this industry and the sport can do and provide for people. The more rural we become, the less face time we have with new customers. So my goal for that is to ensure that we as an industry can look hard at those numbers and figure out how we can make dealers more profitable. The last one on that last part was increased income for the sales reps. Due to increased retailer base, as we get back to having locations in urban settings where you have the mass appeal of people to come and see what we're working on, what we're doing, it increases that income for the sales reps, which then in turn allows them to go out and start doing these demo days and start showing the product to people who are maybe a bit scared of paddle sports. Whitewater can be scary. You don't start there. You start in flat water. You start on the sit on top. You start kayak fishing, and then you slowly choose your path. And then when you get into that path, the one thing I love about this industry is that once you've chosen what you love, you don't really give it up. It becomes a part of who you are. And we just need to get our brand leaders and our innovators out there showing this product out to more people. So that was my discussion.
Thank you, Stig. So next up, I'm going to ask Steve Jordan to say a few words. Steve started in perception back in the day and has been a leader with a lot of different brands. Currently with BigAdventures, who you may know as Liquid Logic and Native Watercraft and all the others. And Steve is going to talk to us about healthy, productive, and impactful trade shows. So, Steve?
The elephant in the room here. But I'm glad to be here. Appreciate PTC, and I was involved in the earlier stages of that, and I'm glad we've gotten to this point that we're here as a group and we're moving forward. As I was reflecting back on my time in the industry, and also just even before that, it's just how we all evolved and where we are today. I kept coming back to our successes and our relationship with the outdoor industry, and even during the outdoor retailer shows. We had a very successful 26 years with the outdoor retailer, and there was no trade shows at all during the early period with outdoor industry. The first show was basically the Super Show in the 70s, and then that ran its course, and there was a need to actually have a more focused show. The Action Sport Retailer in California was started in 1981 by Nielsen, and then the second year, 1982, the Outdoor Retailer Show was formed, and Paddlesports migrated to that show, which was in Reno for many years before it went to Salt Lake City. In Reno, basically, they were not happy because the outdoor industry and the paddle sports industry didn't spend enough money in the casinos. So Salt Lake City embraced us. We had a great long run there, and it was just a very impactful show. And I reflect back with some of the impact that it had on the industry is that from a manufacturing standpoint, we really benefited from being part of a larger outdoor community and sharing the lifestyle and adventures and just being a part of that really helped us grow. We shared a lot of things. We shared a lot of knowledge at the Outdoor Retailer Show. Technology was a big thing that shared across the different segments of the outdoor industry. Gore-Tex, stuff like that was used in dry suits and stuff. New materials, new outfitting, we benefited from that. Networking in the outdoor industry was a big thing, basically with the outdoor brands and in the Paddlesports brand, and it really helped us grow. We nurtured the culture of the outdoor industry and the Paddlesports industry, and it helped us grow together. We shared a lot of great things during that period. When we started Liquid Logic in 2001, there was some great marketing alliances that you could develop across these different segments. When we started the brand, we wanted to create some very performance-oriented boats with the most innovative outfitting and the safest possible boats that you could build. And we formed a relationship with Peter Metcalf and Black Diamond, and they created our security bars that went on the deck of our boats. And we branded those. Those were carabiner stock aluminum, tested to the highest strength, and we put those on our boats. And those security bars are on the boats if you're in a rescue situation. And we boldly branded Black Diamond on those security bars. It gave us an enormous amount of credibility right off the bat using a higher tech kind of material, and it was great for our brand. At the Outdoor Retailer Show and in relationship with the outdoor industry, we created the pool inside the event, and that was the showcase of the whole show. Besides the climbing wall, we were basically the entertainment at the show. Each brand could showcase your product. You could demonstrate it. Dealers could demo. We had athletes there participating. We created an enormous amount of energy within the outdoor industry. The other things that we shared is that we grew tremendously through associations with like the OIA. I know that when I was at Perception with RISA, we were involved with OIA, American Rivers, with AW, and we were very active in environmental causes and environmental impact, river access, protection. We would go to DC and we would lobby with the outdoor industry. So we created a lot of economies of scale being a part of a larger community and a larger lifestyle. And then internationally, the Outdoor Retailer Show and the outdoor industry, we created the largest paddlesports show in the world. You had ISPO and you had Friedrichshafen as a big outdoor show in Europe, but it was not focused on paddlesports and really outdoor. And so we had international distributors and dealers coming from all over the world to attend the outdoor show and the paddlesports show. And now the International Paddlesports Show is the Paddle Expo, or the Paddlesports Show that's now in Strasbourg, France. If you've never been to that show, it's a very focused show. The timeline of that show is I think is ideal for the outdoor industry, which is at the end of September or sometime in August, September timeline. Very, very well organized. We introduced product introduction. We had a great launch for new product that we worked all year to develop. Sales programs, pricing, basically it set us up for success for the next year. We don't really have a great launching part for new product anymore. We're leaning heavily into ICAST, which is the American Fishing Association. Majority of our business now is in the fishing segment. So we're kind of leaning into that because we haven't had a great trade show to be able to launch new product. And then from a retailer standpoint, I think there was huge values being involved with the outdoor industry and being able to allow retailers to be able to economically and effectively come to that show. Also be able to source products across a lot of different categories, being able to grow your business, looking at what's new, being able to see new trends in the market, new technologies that are out there, really allowed you to embrace that across different categories. The retailers also, they can network with their manufacturers, get to know them. They come to that show and not only just work with their sales reps, had an opportunity to meet the management, meet the owners, meet the marketing, the R&D teams, and really build a really solid relationship. The other thing I heard from a lot of retailers is being in a show environment, just like we're here, is being able to spend a lot of time with your other retailers in the industry, not only in your local market, but also on a broader scale across the market, to learn from what's working in their market, what are the new trends that are working, how you can kind of maneuver and develop your business and expand your business and diversify your business to be more profitable. So I thought there was a huge, from a manufacturing standpoint and also from a retail standpoint. Scott McGregor and I talked a little bit about the media impact and exposure from a media perspective being associated with a larger, broader kind of industry. I feel like our greatest successes that we've seen has been our alliances and our relationships with the outdoor industry and that community. I think those are some of the greatest successes that we have. So why wouldn't we want that again? I mean, I think it's important. Scale is important. Scale is important in all of our businesses. We've got to grow, we've got to diversify, we've got to develop, we've got to change. So, and I think I'm super excited to see that we've got other industries that are here at the table. With Dana from GOA, we've got Kent from the OIA, and then we've got Nick from SIA. I mean, those are the type of collaborations and partnerships and communications that we need to have, is how do we grow? How do we grow as an outdoor space and bring more people into the sport? I think there's some other organizations that are missing from the table. Like I said earlier, a majority of our business right now is focused on the kayak fishing side. I don't see a lot of kayak fishing here, and how do we bring that more into this? American Sports Fishing Association puts on the ICAST show. We need to invite them to come to this show. So even Surf Expo, you know, the SEMA group, maybe we need to have them come and be a part of the table and discussion. So, I mean, I think we need to come together, and why not create these alliances? And why not grow as a group at the outdoor space and create maybe a bigger show on a larger scale? So, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Steve. Well, as far as media, I will point out that we have Paddling Magazine right here in the front row, and representing Paddling Business Magazine as well. So next up we have John Kahn from Confluence Kayak and Ski in Denver, Colorado. And the first thing I want to mention is that he's not from that Confluence. His store is a specialty retailer shop in Denver, Colorado, and they really do things right there. They've been doing it right since 1995, which, if my math is correct, is one year more than Stig. 2 years more than Stig. So I'll let you guys fight it out on the seniority front. But without any further ado, John is going to talk to us about specialty versus big box and big e-commerce in retail.
All right, thanks, Jeff. I'm not super comfortable speaking in front of big groups, and I'm going to be looking down at my phone a little bit, but I'm here, and I'm psyched to tell you about my business and what got me going and what I think the real challenges are going forward. So I'm glad that we're here. I really enjoyed coming to the Paddlesports Retailer show when it was here a few years ago. I thought it was valuable, and I thought that was really going to turn into something. Didn't turn out that way, but I'm hopeful that this will lead to something like that. And I really like the idea of doing events at whitewater parks. There's a lot of whitewater parks all over the country now. It's a perfect venue for this sort of get together because we get to have fun and, while we do some business. So, I'm not an icon of anything. I'm just a guy who fell in love with kayaking about 40 years ago. I started, my river journey in 1981 on the San Juan River on a family vacation, and just immediately fell in love with the adventure and was inspired by it. Went to college, came back from college, had raft guided all through my college career and became a kayak instructor, and moved back to Denver and was like, oh, okay, it's time to find a real job. Didn't happen right away. I fell back on my skill set, which was teaching kayaking, and started a kayak school, and that was 1994 in Denver. The South Platte River, at that time, Denver was rebuilding the Confluence Park whitewater chutes, which were rebuilt in 1995. Originally, those whitewater bypass chutes were built in 1977, one of the first examples of a whitewater park ever built, and they were cool, and that's one of the places I learned to paddle, and it seemed awesome to be able to do that right in the middle of downtown Denver. But that part of the river flowed through a really decrepit kind of warehouse district, and it was a rough part of town. We moved in there in 1995. I opened my business, Confluence Kayaks, and within 3 years, REI saw the same thing that I did, and they opened their flagship store in Denver, just right on the riverbank, right in my lap, right in my face, and. So that was my first big challenge and my first big, introduction to what big box retail was. I had no retail background before. I hadn't ever worked in a store. I'd just been a guide and a kayak instructor. Those guys moving in really opened my eyes. And I was given a book at the time called Up Against the Walmarts, which was a book about specialty retail and how to differentiate yourself and how to, compete with the big box players by, a better product assortment, deeper knowledge about your products, and really just that one-on-one customer interaction. So I took that to heart and really, made that the basis for running my business, and it was successful for a while. REI, when they opened up, that was going to be their flagship whitewater store. They were right next to, Confluence Park, which was this brand new whitewater park, and I'm happy to say we beat them at that game, and they dropped whitewater a few years later. And I thought, wow, we're really doing something good. We've got it going right here. At the time I opened, there were basically 5 specialty paddle sports retailers in Metro Denver. Now there's 2-ish. And I thought when these businesses, went away, first was the Boulder Outdoor Center. They were the big dog when I opened up. And, when we put them out of business, I was like, okay, we're making some progress here. Then there was a shop called Mountain Miser down in Englewood, Colorado. And they went out of business too. Alpenglow Mountain Sport in Golden went out of business. So, I thought that, wow, we're really making some progress here, but it should have been a clue to me that, my business didn't go up by as much as their business went down. People's shopping habits were changing at that time, and the internet was really coming into its own. This is, 2005 to that time frame. And so, I really should have taken that to heart that, people's shopping habits were changing. I'm not a super social media savvy person, or, I don't have a Facebook account at all. I don't really participate in social media, so I didn't rush to open an e-commerce store. And, I probably should have. That was one of my mistakes that I made. But, I was really more about the in-person service and trying to help people, get involved in kayaking, both with a kayak school that we used to run. We don't run it anymore because it's gotten so expensive and it's hard to keep the staff around to teach kayaking in addition to to other issues. But it became clear to me that really the pie that I thought that I was going to eat by putting these other companies out of business wasn't my pie to eat. It was really the internet's pie, and they were very hungry. At the same time, the reputation of Confluence Park, this whitewater park that was the basis for locating my business, really, the shine was off. The water quality, it developed a reputation. People started calling it Confluenza Park, and the waves hepatitis A, B, and C. And it was rough. And at the same time, there were all these whitewater parks being built all over the state, and so there was a lot more competition. And then lastly, the incessant need for water on Colorado's Front Range meant that river flows really declined, and so you might only get in a low water season, a few weeks of boatable, flows, and that was not enough to base a kayak school on or that type of business. So, that was one of the challenges. Another challenge I faced was that I've never been able to buy my own real estate. I've been paying landlords for 30 years, and that frustrates me to no end. But that's the way it is in downtown Denver and operating in an urban environment. After I opened up, REI came in, the Rockies baseball team opened Coors Field, and the price of real estate just went through the roof. Arnold Schwarzenegger bought a building a couple blocks away from me. And so, I've been chased out of multiple retail locations. I've moved my business 3 times. I'm in my 4th location now. Always trouble, but the last 2 locations I was in were actually demolished to the ground and rebuilt as 5-story, 4 stories of office over 1-story retail, that they're asking $30 to $40 a square foot for that retail, space. So I've been lucky enough to actually be able to stay in Denver, but it's been tough without the margins, without the actually making a little bit of money to save up some money for a down payment. It hasn't been, the end of the world having to move over and over again, but because each time you move, you kind of recharge, and it's been a little bit of rebirth. And I feel like our store now is the best iteration of the store. It's in an old bar and in a really cool spot in downtown Denver. But in addition to REI now in that neighborhood, there's all kinds of branded retail stores. So there's a Fjallraven store, a Royal Robin store, a Rab store, and Black Diamond just inked a deal to buy the other specialty independent retailer in the neighborhood, a store called Wilderness Exchange. And so now we're going to have a Black Diamond store down there, and it's just incredibly, the amount of competition is just incredible. And I haven't even gotten to e-commerce and internet retail, Now, this summer, many of you may or may not know, but I acquired CKS Online, Colorado Kayak Supply Online, which is, a well-known internet retailer. Jim Stolquist started it in the 80s. He was doing mail order retail before the internet even existed. And so it has a long history and a 60,000 person email list, which was, incredible to see. But the only reason I was able to buy that business is because it bankrupted its prior owners. Running that e-commerce business, Peter Hall from Hall of Paddleboards was the prior owner to me, and between the ups and downs of the paddleboard world and running CKS from a mountain town, it failed for him. And then the prior owners, Chad and Earl, also they split it apart from a brick and mortar store. They split the e-commerce off. But they also failed at it, and I think it's a challenging business because there's so much price competition, and now retailers are in direct competition with our vendors, right? So I can't think of any of my vendors that don't have a D2C, direct-to-consumer component on their website. And some people do it right and refer a lot of business to their local retailers. Other people are just cannibalizing, the small market that there is and discounting in mid-season. And I won't name names, but I really feel like the vendors, the manufacturers, if you want retail to succeed, if you want the industry to succeed, that direct-to-consumer component, has to be done right and has to encourage people to visit, local retail brick-and-mortar stores. In Denver, another challenge is that the minimum wage has gone up. Currently, the minimum wage is $18.29 in Denver. It's going up to $18.81 on January 1st next year. And that means I've got to pay these high school kids and college, kids $19 an hour, to come around the shop. One of those kids is my son, and it's a ripoff paying that kid $19. Ultimately, that cost of business means that we are, have less help around the store, less people helping us do, all the things that makes retail work. In order to, represent paddle sports at retail, you have to make bad economic decisions for your store, okay? Carrying kayaks is a bad economic decision currently, right? You can barely make money on it in a good year, and then you have to carry tens of thousands of dollars over every winter because of the boats you didn't sell. That's money that's just sitting there, not doing anything, and you're lucky to get your money back out of it next spring when the new boats come out and everything's on sale. If we want to succeed, we need to make stocking kayaks a good economic decision and get our margins where they need to be. There's no reason why we can't sell a $3,000 kayak. It needs to be a great kayak, but it needs to be there so that with shipping, we can all make money on it. So, from my perspective, the things that retailers need to do to generate foot traffic and loyalty are, number one is be different. You can't be the same old thing. There's a lot of options for every consumer out there, and so you have to have some compelling reason that makes you different. And hopefully that includes your product knowledge and your personality, but you can't just be the same. You got to be different. Number two, you got to get service oriented, and you got to charge for your services. When I started, we would give away all kinds of free service. We spent hours outfitting people's boats, shaving foam, cutting them down. We did that for free, and we don't do that anymore. We do outfit people's boats for them for free, but we're not. Most of the services that people come in for, we charge for, and we charge a lot for them. We charge $75, $80 for a gasket replacement. We have tons of business doing gasket replacements. People have to ship them out. You got to charge what you're worth. Community events is a huge thing. I think, for us in Denver, the water quality at Confluence Park has made it a challenge. But for us, when we can partner with bigger organizations in Denver, it's the Greenway Foundation that really helped develop the River Greenway. We have a great event called Cross Currents River Fest that we do with them, and partnering with people that are bigger than you is key. And then for me, just one tactic that's worked really well is just every charity auction that wants something from me, I give them a gift certificate for services. Right? I'm not giving away product. I never give away product. I give away ski tunes and I give away kayak rentals. And that makes people happy, and it puts my name in front of people that are receptive to hearing about it. I feel like that type of community building is really helpful. And then as an industry, I think the things that we really need to do is just, number one, focus on growing participation. We've got to build the bottom, build it back up from the bottom. So all the things that we do, our advertising, outreach, and events needs to be focused on getting more people involved. And then I think that promoting guided, individualized paddle sports. Most people experience rivers in a raft, and I think that people will get a lot more of it and really want to do it more if they're in an inflatable kayak and doing it on a one-on-one basis and being the captain of their own boat. I loved what Stig was saying. He was speaking my language about maintaining healthy margins for retailers. If retailers don't have the money to do promotion and do events, that's just a broken part of the chain. And so maintaining margins for retailers is crucial. And then reducing the price competition in the direct-to-consumer thing. I think that vendors should not really be competing with retailers as hard as they are, and certainly not discounting in the middle of the summer. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, John, and all of our panelists. And we got just a few minutes here for Q&A, so I'd like to just open it up. If anybody's got something to add, a question for any of the panelists, raise your hands. And we don't have mics out there, so make sure to use your river voice. Jim Emmons in the back.
I'll ask a question. John, on your presentation, thank you for that. Very good. Can you just elaborate a little bit more on how your shop goes up against the big box stores and how you've been able to succeed in that area?
Yeah, I mean, we faced REI straight away, and that just, that experience of dealing with customers and when they have the option to just go down the street and shop at a store with, more inventory and a bigger building, just taught me that the number one thing that we can do to compete with that is better customer service, and that means being more personable, but also having deeper product knowledge and a better product assortment, a more curated assortment of things. It turns out REI was really good for my business. They were like the anchor store of this big outdoor mall. And we would go down and meet their salespeople, and we end up getting referrals from them every day. We have customers coming in saying, "Oh, I was just down at REI and they sent me down here." So developing that relationship with them directly, I think, is also important. I made the choice to stay in the neighborhood where I was, both because of Confluence Park, but also because I didn't want to be across town from REI. I wanted to be down the street from REI. That way you can get some of that referral business that, rather than people having to get in their cars and come see you, they could, just walk. And so I think that is really the main thing.
Thank you. Sarah in the back?
This is a question for John, but also kind of for anybody else in the room that's, been dealing with this. But John, how much do you consider with the brands that you're stocking, as far as like what they're doing with DTC and all that sort of stuff? I know with brands like, say in Confluence, it's a big one that we're really, highly considering because it's not caring anymore in a sense because of their DTC practices.
Yeah, I've got an interesting relationship with Confluence Outdoor because I answer the phone for them like at least once a week. People asking for a warranty, people asking for a new MSO, and I have to, go through the whole spiel that we're not the same business. I had the name first. Those guys are suckers. I feel like we're getting to the point that we've been carrying the brands that we feel like people are going to buy, and I've seen Confluence Outdoor ruin a bunch of brands. When I got started, I worked for years to pick up Perception and Dagger. They weren't made available to me because they were this sort of premium brand, and we opened Wave Sport. Wave Sport was located in Colorado, and they took that brand and flushed it. So I have a real love-hate relationship with Confluence Outdoor, and would love for them to not be so corporate.
For John, when you refer to your shop offering services, do you find it more effective to offer a lot of small services, or do you find it, or just offering larger outfitting services to be more effective? What do you find drives a little bit more traffic to your shop than others? Is there a preference?
I mean, I wish we could tune kayaks like we tune skis because the ski tuning business is a great business, and that's what keeps me alive in the wintertime. We're charging $70 to tune, to run some PTEX, run a ski over a grinder, and really when you're doing tunes in bulk, it might take you 10 minutes to tune a pair of skis, and we're getting great margin out of that. I wish we could tune people's kayaks the same way. The majority of our summer services are rentals. It's a great business. It gets people involved. Allows people to teach their friends to kayak, that kind of thing. Gasket repair and then inflatable repairs. We're seeing a lot of inflatables come back. There's a lot of junk out there, and we have to tell a lot of people that, hey, your inflatable, the seam just blew. You don't want to pay for this repair. You should just go, get another board. But that's really the categories of repairs that we do mostly or services as repairs.
We might have time for one more.
I have a question for Nikki. My question is, grassroots marketing in general, or just grassroots in general, can be seen as really intimidating for a lot of people talking about schools and how to approach it. The investment, it sounds daunting. Can you give some examples of things that you've seen that are approachable, like ease your way into connecting with your local community? What have you seen that could contribute to taking the first step into building a community around your shop?
That's a great question. So one of the things that I had written down was invite people into your shops, not to shop, like to hang out, to host a movie night, host one of your reps in the evening, and have your customers come in and learn about dry suits, learn about boats. Talk to Simon, talk to Tom from Acrobatics. They weren't doing all that they're doing now right out of the gate. Simon bought this shop after he, was running and helped establish the school. So, you don't have to start with something really elaborate to bring them into the shop, but give them an opportunity to connect. Great question, Emily. Thanks.
Thank you. And I think that's it for time. Let's get a big hand for all of our panelists. really, really useful. I think we're going to take a break here for a few minutes.
Just one.
What?
Yeah, one. Okay, so before we go on break, I just wanted to take another minute or two to recognize a few different people. I think it's interesting. We're talking about community. We're talking about how we are so committed to the sport. How do we create more commitment in the sport? And I think that there are a number of organizations that have joined us here who are very focused on that, who are very focused on keeping people safe, helping them learn how to paddle properly, helping them learn to wear a life jacket, that there are risks related to paddling and so forth. I guess the first organization I wanted to acknowledge is NASBLA, the National Association of Safety Boating Law Administrators. NASBLA helped us get our association started. They backed us, they funded us. As I said earlier, we are a startup, and our NASBLA relationship is very tight. We met Pam through NASBLA, and I wanted everyone to know that the role that they've played in getting us going, and they're still around to support us and so forth. We're kind of standing on our own. We break even on this event, so we're moving and trying to move it forward for ourselves. I also want to acknowledge National Safe Boating Council. Peg Phillips is here. Peg, we are working with Peg, seeing what opportunities we can develop together and support the programs that they have in place. And I would encourage you all, if you haven't found Peg, to seek her out and have a conversation with her. She's an awesome supporter for us as an organization and has been helping us throughout. Also, we have Jim Emmons, and I mentioned Jeff Moag with the National Safe Boat, Water Sports Foundation. Thank you, Pam. Acronyms, man, I just get so lost. But you're going to hear a little bit from Jim and Peg and their organizations over the next couple of days. But ACA is here as well, and we're very happy to have the ACA group here as well. They are supporting us through this. I think that, did I mention? River Management Society is here. We also have a representative who's very committed to our industry and our sport from the U.S. Coast Guard, Tom Dardis. And so what we're trying to do is build our community that goes beyond brands, goes beyond retailers, goes beyond those things, and bring these organizations who've been working, 14 years at Kokatat, I didn't know there was a life jacket association. I didn't know it existed. And that's all I sold was life jackets. And I think that from my perspective, I was very myopic on what I was trying to get accomplished at Kokatat. And my eyes have opened since working on this in this PTC organization, that there are organizations who are so dedicated to community of paddle sports. And we need to bring and wrap them all in and get us all together so that we can accomplish great things for the future. And that's what our goal is here. So I just wanted to wind up on that. And we're going to take a break now. There's coffee upstairs. I think they're still set up downstairs as well. 15 minutes. We'll start at about 5 minutes after 10. Okay? Thank you very much.